Hey, I'm Scotty, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to sketch this windmill right here in 5 simple steps. Also, Etchr Labs kindly sent me 2 sketchbooks to test today. So we have the Perfect Sketchbook Signature Series and also their new format, the Etchr Sketchbook 8x8. So this is a square format sketchbook. So I've done a few practice sketches in that. If you hang around to the end, I'll show you those sketches compared to the sketch we're going to do today in the Perfect Sketchbook. So that'll be fun to compare at the end. So the first step is to add some construction. So if we have our page here, we go down about a third. That'll be the top where the tower is there, and we'll leave enough space for those blades. And then we come down and also leave enough space for the water. So I'm going to make my main tower section, put a dot there in the middle of the page, and down about there. So that'll give me my overall size of the tower. So then we also put a dot right in the center here. So that's where that green balcony is. Okay, and then we want the width of the tower. So I'd say it's about that wide. So this is just having a guess. Now we go out the same amount, but then a little bit more for the bottom because it tapers out that way. Then we've got that top section of the tower. Then we come down again, but then we probably double that distance out there, and that's where that building comes. From here, from the top, and then out again. Now I can see that whole section has enough for the bottom and enough at the top. And that leads us to step number 2, which is to outline all the main shapes. So I'm going to miss a little bit here where I think that blade will come in this way. So I'll start just on this side and we'll get that green section there. I'm holding my pen loosely, curving out to this point here. See that? It comes across, and the line can be wobbly. Depending how loose you want your sketch to be is how wobbly you make it. There. So we've got that top tower section. Now let's go down to the balcony section. So I'd say it comes out quite far to about there and there. Goes like this, and then we can come across the bottom like this. And then we can add in some of those beams that go up like this, and they're a bit more further apart in the middle, going right through the middle. Okay, so there we have the balcony section. Now we're going to do this section that's just below the balcony and come down, diagonally down, and then we come down like this. The roof comes a bit further out from that balcony, so it'll come a bit past that dot we drew. So let's draw that dot roof out like that, and then it'll come down here, and then there's some timber here, there, just outlining that shape. And let's come back on this side. Now we're going to form that triangle in the front of that building, like this, and down like that. And it's got a really nice white thickness which will stand out when we do our watercolor. Okay, and then it comes down. So there's our dot here for the bottom part, and then there's this big wood piece there. And we can come right across to enclose that whole shape. I'm going to follow roughly that line there against the water, and every now and again come up for a pile on there, just loose and expressive. Now we have that shoreline, and it's very horizontal. The perspective in this is quite easy. This one is pretty much horizontal as well, side there too. And then from the door, roughly following that angle, and we're going out to here. And we can come down from this point too, and divide that building up there. Now let's start with the blades up the top. Up from this point there, and we're roughly going to go across, even if later I'll have to go over some of those lines when the blades come out. So there's the head there. It's a little oval actually. Now we've got that point, it makes it a lot easier to do the blades. So I'd say that's a bit of a nice angle there. But that means we have to also get that distance, so I'm roughly measuring with my fingers out to there. Draw a very wobbly straight line. That's what makes it a loose sketch, having all those wobbles. Roughly aiming at that distance, but the angle should follow the rest of this. So it came out a bit further than I expected. Coming down this way, and there's almost this white section there too, which I could draw on that side. So now this one here isn't exactly perpendicular, which means 90 degrees on either side. It's actually slightly tilted this way. So from this point, I'm looking at a point that is lower than here and is in line with this point. So I might get that distance with my fingers, measure it out like this. Okay. And the other one, I might use my arm that way. Now let's add the sails. So we bring this one over here, and then I'm making it slightly wider just to make it interesting. So some things like this we exaggerate slightly, and it ends up looking more like what the reference is. I'm just looking at the angle there, so it comes up that way and then bends in. If I do anything, I should bow in a little bit, because you can see there that it bows in on the edges. Now these little squares on the end, I really like those, and I think if we include them on all of them, even though they're not on these ones, I think that'll help our sketch. And that is the main shapes. You can look back and then think, is everything right? Do I need to adjust any of those main shapes? We can add a box here just to contain it, and that would be really great for when we do watercolor for the sky. So we'll get a really nice horizontal line. So start here, so just cutting that tip there. Looking at the top of the page just so it goes straight. Okay, and then we'll add a little corner here and go down there. Okay, and then on this side, we go to there. So where's that? Here. So I'm looking at the side of the page again as I'm sketching. Okay, now step number 3 is to add the details in. So we'll work our way down and add a few more details. So we can add ropes like this. We have another rope here. And what else? What other details we have? We have this, that little pole there. And then sticking out of the side here is this really interesting engineering construction. It goes like this, and it comes down, and then another piece comes out here, and it comes to about there. So loop this rope. Sometimes ropes are good to do fast. So this should be 3 sections, 3 panels. So we'll come down here, the first one, like that, and then the next section will come down like this. And there's a window here. Really important to get these windows in. They'll look really good. And then a door there. And actually there's a door here. It's hard to see in the reference, but there is a door there. Okay, and then here we have these pillars that hold up. There's a bit more thickness there. And they hold up that balcony. There's a window. And then there's little white supports there. You come across to the shed. We have a sign. And then this section here. You can do that with watercolor, perhaps, those green sections. And now the people. So we want to silhouette people, and we just go around their shoulders, do a little circle for their head and go down the shoulders, and then taper off for their legs. So come up for this person, do a little circle, shoulders, and then come down like that. And another person there. So very impressionistic here, like that. There's another person there. Someone standing there with a backpack on. There's the people, that's really nice. And then we can get some of this detail. I'm not going to spend too long trying to get these right. It's just a one-line impression. Outlining some of the details. There's a lot of wood, and on this way too. Trying to make it a little bit different, so that's why I did the pattern differently. And there's all this timber that they've made. So there's a lot of detail down there, which is nice because it leads up to this point here, the focal point at the top. Okay, so what was quite a complex reference with the blades, with all the details down here, we're able to break it down with those 3 steps. Now the 4th step is to add watercolor. Okay, we're going to start with the sky, and I have my round 12 brush, cerulean blue. Sometimes I use a wet on wet, so we wet the background and then we go down and give a gradient. This time I'm going to try wet on dry and add some really nice expressive strokes behind, and you can see the cloud covers here. So we're going to leave a diagonal line this way, and that follows that roof line, which is nice. Okay, I've got plenty of water in my brush, and now let's just add some really simple strokes here. And it's okay if it goes over your line work a bit. So got a bit there, and then we come down this way, and quite an expressive background. So now we're going to do the tower and block that in. Take some yellow ochre and move that in. So we're going to start lighter than what the actual reference is. And let's start at the top. Make sure you don't do that bit green. Don't go into there because that's going to be green later. We'll add some burnt umber into it. So as we go down, we're variegating the wash, going in there a bit. Now as we go further down, we add Payne's grey to that. So we're darkening it down into there. And then when we get down to the bottom section, it's going to be even more Payne's grey. Let's see if that's the right colour there. So coming across there, and this part, around this, and it's across here. To do these supports of the sails. So how about we need to make that a bit darker. It's roughly between the lines there. It doesn't spread out into that section. So we have burnt sienna, and then add some permanent rose. Goes down this way, down to that corner. The other place that we can add this color would be on those ends of the windmill sails. I'll add that on the end there like this. And that will really be a nice pop of color. So I'm not trying to perfectly go in the lines, just leave a little bit of white there. Now for green, I don't have a color that matches that exactly, but we'll just be using Viridian green, which is more of a blue green. See, there's green there, and then across here. So yeah, there's like white bits there. Sometimes that makes that look really loose and nice, so good to do that sort of watercolor work there. But then when you get to underneath the tower, we'll make that all solid. Something there. Not going too crazy with the saturation on the green, but maybe when that dries I'll see if I need to add a bit more punchiness to it. So now we're going a yellowy orange, and that's for this, these details here. And I think I'll add variation as I go. Let's just do our best here to add nice, interesting, broad strokes, just like that. And then it needs that Payne's grey. If this doesn't have to be super dark, because we'll add the shadows on this area as well, but it does need something before I put shadows. And let's wet the bottom. Now we're doing wet on wet because it's reflecting the sky, and it comes in. So I'm just getting a bit of this old blue there, and even water that down a lot. Some Payne's grey. Okay, the next stage of watercolor is to add shadows. I'm going to go back to my beloved ultramarine and rose. That across here is go up this section here. See that lovely shadow that goes across the back of that? That's going to be really important. So let's draw a nice shadow there, like that, and then come down to this green section here like this. There's a bit of shadow at the end there, and then it comes like this, so just to there. Down that side of the building, and quite a lot of shadow in these sections, and then I'm adding even more ultramarine, changing the color as we go. So it goes down and right across that section there. And this back section here behind the door, that goes down and then across like this and in like this. Where else have we got shadow? So as I mentioned before, we're going to add shadow just behind these people, logs here, between those. I'm using the tip of my brush here. Let's just lightly add some here. That looks pretty cool. What I'm going to do is get the colors that we've used, for example the Viridian green, and we just get little spots and we add it around like places like this just to make it jump out and add that punch to it. Setting little bits here and there. Down on the roof here we have a bit more, just adding in there interest on there. So it's such a big bit of color there. Okay, step number 5 is to add some highlights on top. Got my Posca pen with a fine tip. So across this top edge of this balcony, let's add a line across here. And then we've also got these roof lines here. And then also we can do one this way, like that. So a line here. So I'm looking at objects with edges on the top that the light would hit, like that. Okay, and then when we go up here, for example, this edge here might have a line, and at top edges of things like this, bottom edges. Okay, then we get down to the water and we can add these little strokes. So I'm just using the side and scraping out like this. Now if you're interested in the comparison between the standard Etchr sketchbook and the perfect sketchbook, well, I've done a few practice sketches in here. I'll show you. So you can see here it's a really nice format to sketching. It's very versatile to fill up the page. Now the difference between the two, I think, is mostly, obviously this paper is a lot better quality, and the colors in this one really are a bit more vibrant. So the colors are vibrant, the ink of the pen stands out, it sort of catches the ink a lot better. And whereas this one is still good. This is still a nice sketchbook. I enjoyed sketching on this, and it wasn't until the end when I compared them that I could see the difference in just the vibrancy. The colors are a little bit lighter, but in some ways that might suit your style more. So you can see here at the bottom the colors are a little bit more muddy. Overall it's very nice paper to sketch on, especially when we're doing quick sketches, quick urban sketches. But yeah, the colors on this one, you can just see the details are a little bit more vibrant. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I really love sketching this kind of reference. Let me know in the comments what you think. And also, if you want the full version of this video, it'll be on my Patreon with the reference and the template. I put that there as well so that you can see the dots and construction on your screen as you sketch along with me. You could also print that off if you like. But otherwise, I have another great tutorial here on how to sketch a lighthouse. So I'd love you to check that out below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.